Hey friends, welcome back to the blog. Thank you so much for joining me this week where we will be talking about prayer journals. Have you ever struggled through prayer? Like you find yourself lost in your to-do list, or perhaps you feel a little guilty because you know you need to pray, but your mind tends to your focus tends to kind of run away like a mouse in a maze. You're not alone. For years, I struggled in this area, and that's why I created my prayer journal, which it's more like a prayer binder. Last week I mentioned that I became a mom at a very young age, 16 to be exact, and I know that that's really young, but needless to say that my college days were very different than most, and as a single mom, there were times that for one reason or another, I had to miss school, and some professors completely understood. Fully willing to work with me on makeup work and exams, but then there was him. For this professor, there was no makeup work, no excuses. Unless you had a death in your family, which you had to prove, there were no tests to be made up. You see, with this professor, you had to be present to receive either the follow-up instructions for a current project that we were working on, or perhaps the instructions for a new assignment. And I have to admit, at the time, I thought it was a bit harsh. But now looking back, I can see a valuable lesson woven into this. This professor knew that he had a syllabus. He knew he had a limited time with his students. He had lessons to be taught, assignments that reinforced these lessons, and tests to gauge the students' comprehension. And sure, he could have given me a back story, a brief overview, and the exam or the assignment, but I would have missed out on the details. And how many of you know that details matter? Details are what brings stories to life or gets you from point A to point B. And his attendance requirement, while at the time seemed a bit restrictive, it was actually setting me up for success. In Psalm 90:12, it says, "Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom." You see, friends, we have a true professor. And only when we realize that our days here on this earth are actually numbered, that life is temporary, and that the most precious resource that we have is our time, then and only then do we realize and understand that every day here on earth is an assignment, that every day is a call to prayer, a call to sit with our professor, to listen to his instructions, to receive those details that bring our stories to life. When you and I are not present with our professor, we don't receive the current assignment. We don't receive the instructions for future assignments. You and I miss out on the syllabus that our Creator wrote for our lives. Friends, when we are underwhelmed in our prayer life, it is so easy to become overwhelmed with life. There's no direction. We're lost and exhausted. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you what really revolutionized my prayer life, and that's my prayer journal. Here it is. It's pretty beaten up over the years, but I've got it broken down into sections. It's got praise, selfie, a prayer list, he speaks, my loves, Bible studies, and verses. And so I'm just going to kind of briefly go through it. So under praise, I have his names listed in alphabetical order, and I'm going to actually include a printout that you can print out and put in your prayer journal. But it's got his names listed in alphabetical order, and I'll just kind of glance through here because you can find so much about the Father through the names that he's been called in the Bible. And so if one of them jumps off the page, I'll pray about it. So the author and perfecter. I'll simply say, Father, thank you that you are the author and perfecter of my life, that you are writing my story. And I release my pen back to you to write that story because you can write it so much better than me. And so I also include in the praise section, I include his characteristics. I enter in by praising and thanking the Father because that sets the stage for the prayer. And so then I go to selfie. So here it's about myself. I ask him to reveal any unconfessed sin in my life. Anything that's hindering my relationship with him, I want it removed. And so I ask for him to forgive me for anything that I could think of over the last day or since the last time I prayed. I ask him to reveal that and to free me from that. And then I ask him to purify my heart and the words that flow from it, to give me eyes of mercy for his people and anyone that I may encounter, to give me a heart of compassion for the lost and the broken people. And then I also have a prayer list. That's my next section, is a prayer list. And here I have an ongoing prayer list of people that I'm praying for. If someone asks me to pray for a specific reason, I'll put that on there. And then if it's if and when it is answered, because he does answer prayers. Then they may not always be what we desire or expect, but he does answer them. And so I put the answer or completion date down. And then the next section I have is my loves. And here I actually start off by praying virtues over myself and my family members. Virtues like diligence, for us to be diligent in our relationship with him. And so I go through the virtues, and then I have sections for each one of my close family members and some extended family members. And these they're very specific to your loves. For some, that may be identity or depression, or understanding that they have a father, a good father, words of encouragement, or maybe it's renewing the mind, whatever it is. And if you struggle with not really knowing what areas to pray for, I'm also including a printout that has just some areas to kind of give you maybe a jump start to thinking about how to pray for people. And then I have Bible verses. Here I write down verses that either I hear or verses that as I'm reading through scripture just really jump off the page to me. And in our home, I cycle out, or recycle, I should say. I assign Bible verses every single week that we memorize. So for each week, we're memorizing trying to memorize a new verse. And so I picked from this list of Bible verses that I assigned for that week. And then I have Bible studies. And Bible studies, whenever I'm reading through scripture, I will break it down into if he takes a holy highlighter and highlights something on the page, I will write it down along with what I feel like he's revealing to me, because you would be surprised at how quickly you will forget things that the Father reveals to you when you're reading scripture. I look back at the pages in my Bible, and some of the things I've written down, I'm overwhelmed at what he revealed and how quickly I forgot that stuff. And then I also have a section for He Speaks. And here what I do is I write down, I've got it broken down into Thy Word, and then it's Be Lifted Up, and then it's Open My Heart, Awaken My Heart. And so here if there's a scripture that stands out to me, I'll write it down. And then I'll write it actually in my own words. I kind of paraphrase it, and then I break it down into, I thank him for that word and thank him for whatever it is that he's revealing to me in his word. And then I ask him to open my heart in that area. Again, this is going to be specific to what you're going through, because his word is alive and active, and therefore you can read something one day and then come back the next day and he'll reveal something completely different. So it's very specific, but I'm also going to include that in the printables. And so if you're on my email list, you should receive this automatically. If you're not, then you can sign up. There's a scroll down that you'll be able to sign up. But I also want to give one of these away. And this one it's set up, ready to be used. I don't have the sections set up. I'll allow you to do that yourself. But it's got plenty of paper, plenty of pretty little things, because I like pretty. plenty of post-it notes and everything like that in there to get you started. But my hope is that this will bless your prayer life and that it will draw you into the professor's room and that you'll begin to realize that the syllabus of your life is waiting to be learned and assignments to be given. But we have to find time. We have to make time to sit with our professor and to receive that. So I pray a blessing over you this week. I pray that that the Father really reveals his heart to you. And just leave me a comment. I'll be giving this away next week. Just leave me a comment, and then I'll be selecting from the comments listed. And if you wouldn't mind sharing it on social media, Pinterest, Facebook, whatever. And then I pray that whether you receive or whether you win this or not, that you will set up something simple, as it can be as simple as paper stapled together, or as elaborate as a prayer journal. That's really up to you. But I pray that whatever you do, that you will find time to set aside and to really press into the Father's heart. So I pray a blessing over you, friends. Until next week, bye-bye.